Give me just a sec here. Dom, I'm going to pause a little bit here
Okay.
and stall a bit as everything goes live. But listen, we don't ever bury the lead. And the
No.
lead is the Street Profits knock off DIY and win the tag titles in the main event of this show. Happy to see a title change on SmackDown again,
Mhm.
which is wild. Usually a rarity, but giving SmackDown some love with 2 title changes in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Um, like this matchup, Street Profits end up winning it clean. I like the finish. Dom, what do you think about the Street Profits winning the titles from DIY?
I got to tell you, there seemed to be a lot of wrestling on this show emanating from Barcelona, Spain. They were saying that this is the first time they've been back in Spain in 6 years or so, and this may have been the first SmackDown episode from Spain, or at least from Barcelona, from a large city there in Spain. And it looked like they got a lot of wrestling. That live crowd got a lot of wrestling. It looked like on TV that there were some maybe edits made in order to fit everything in, even though they've got a 3 hour program. So good for the live crowd there, getting a great show. And it ends with, as you said, a title change. We've been talking about the ascendance of the men's tag team division lately.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like there's more teams that are credible challengers to be in the quasi main event scenario. I know tag teams aren't quite main event in WWE anymore, but for that quasi main event level and for perhaps main eventing a SmackDown every now and then, there are a lot of teams that can do it. We saw two of them tonight. I thought this match got better as it went along. I even wrote in my notes becoming a pretty good match late. So I thought it did pick up. Um, it got a little spot festy, but I guess maybe they were trying to give the Barcelona crowd almost a pay-per-view feel, especially to the main event there. Big kickouts from finishers all over the place. The match ends with DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa trying for that meet in the middle double team move that they do on Angelo Dawkins, but the big man ducked. Gargano super kicked Ciampa out of the ring. And then a stunned Gargano gets hit with a slam by Angelo Dawkins. Tag to Montez Ford, who hits an enormous top turn splash for the pinfall. I couldn't quite tell exactly how long these matches were going because of commercials and some of the edits, but it looked like it was a good 12 minutes on TV that we got to see this match play out. I don't know if you had any spots you wanted to call out or just wanted to talk in general about the tag team division and how it's elevated here, because they did show in the back every now and then Pretty Deadly watching because they're the new number one contenders, doing a little backstage scouting as to what happened here. Like you said, clean finish, pretty good match. And I will throw this out there. I thought it was strange when they started this match. I was like, this is the main event? Really?
Thought like the same exact thing. 'Cause-
This?
Yeah, because they had Gunther out there in the
Yes.
match. They had all kinds of guys. They had the triple. I mean, even what started us off was way more star-studded. I was like DIY versus Street Profits, who we haven't seen. I feel like in weeks.
Yep.
But yeah, I was pretty happy with the fact that that was the main event, and obviously now it all adds up. Why would this be in the main event? Oh, it's because they're flipping the belt.
And it was a pretty good match. Like Motor City Machine Guns, they're very cookie cutter within their realm. They
Yeah.
do the same stuff all the time. It looks like the match is on repeat. But Gargano and Ciampa, they look like it's a different match every time. And the Street Profits, not having seen them in a while, they were kind of fresh for us.
The Street
But
Profits were fresh, and they've been pretty good. And I'd
yes,
have to say DIY. It has helped them a little. I mean, this helped them to get away from the Motor City Machine Guns. I feel like
yep,
they wrestled. They had like 5 forgettable matches, or 5 of the same match over and over and over and over.
yeah.
So I'm glad that DIY kind of showed themselves as a reliable hand like two reliable hands as a tag team, and we're the champs.
What do you
Street
think of their little title run there? It wasn't a long time, but DIY as heels getting a little title run there. What do you think about it?
It was okay. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, but at the end of the day, they did give him a lot of airtime. They have a lot of backstage segments. They don't go out there and do a ton of promos. I do like Ciampa. I
Mm-hmm.
do think that he's the stronger of the two, and Johnny Gargano can physically do a lot of the stuff, but Ciampa just looks crazy with
Right.
the bald head and the gray beard. He just has the look, right?
I thought
So
they had a pretty good title run,
yeah,
especially as heels. I thought they did a good job in the ring and their segments. I thought, looking back on it now, knowing it was going to be a short title reign, I thought they were, for instance, treated a lot better by creative than Shinsuke Nakamura was.
yeah, right. Of our
Shinsuke was buried as the champion.
he was actively buried as a champ.
Like,
Yeah.
he's got the belt and they're burying him.
Yeah, no, I think that they were winning matches, looking strong. Got a lot of airtime, like a
Yep.
lot more than Shinsuke, for example,
Yep.
who you almost were like, where is the U.S. champ?
Yep.
Um,
And I say that as a guy who liked the new version of Shinsuke that we got to see these last few months.
yeah, for
You
sure.
did too. You have often said you were sports entertained.
I was very sports entertained, and the only thing about this win is it feels like our boys Pretty Deadly aren't going to win the title unless they hot potato it to Pretty Deadly, which would be wild.
I think it'll be a good match, though. I think this is a good opportunity for the veterans, the Street Profits, to get back into the title picture now with the belts, with sort of a new look. They commented. Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore were saying that they look like they've bulked up a little with their time off. Dawkins has always been a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're wearing all black now. So you like, black is a very slimming color, I'm told. So I don't know if it looked that way, but I mean, they're both fantastic athletes. Montez Ford, he almost jumps out of the building on those top turnbuckle splashes. He almost over jumps it. In fact, one time during the match, he was doing a top turnbuckle cross body. He almost completely leaped over Gargano.
Yeah.
Like, he barely caught him. I mean, I know Gargano's not the tallest guy, but still, I mean, like, let's dial it down a bit on the adrenaline, Montez Ford.
Ford is a guy who is probably going to be one of the two of those would be a better singles push guy between Dawkins and Ford. But Dawkins plays his role really well with the
Yes, he
hot
does.
tag. He knows what to do in his role, and I feel like that's something that's a little underrated. Like, hey, this guy's never going to be the WWE top guy champ, but he's going to be a good tag team guy to get the hot tag as a babyface, know what to do. So,
The other thing about the Street Profits is both guys are different wrestlers. There's a trend in tag teams to make the guys copies of each other, like almost clones of each other.
yeah,
Ciampa and Gargano are not like that, and Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins are not like that either.
they're way different.
Right? And I
Mhm.
wonder if Pretty Deadly getting a push, if Elton Prince and Kit Wilson will not wrestle like cookie cutters of each other.
Mhm. Yeah, because they
I
are
mean, the
also like
Usos were successful with it. Like, they were almost cookie cutters of each other and had a long title reign. But they had like the bloodline mystique going. But I prefer it when not every team is just like, oh, it's two of the same guy.
I think with the Usos, it was unavoidable because they're brothers, and it
Right.
was just like they're the same person because they're
Right.
brothers, and they
They're
look
about the same
exactly the
height.
same.
Yeah.
They're the same look, the same height, and they call them the twins. And I don't know if they are actually twins, but you
I
could
think they're
easily.
fraternal.
Oh,
So
okay.
not identical twins, but yeah, fraternal twins.
Which is like
Jimmy's a little bit older, technically, yes.
by like 20 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, like whatever, yeah.
Um.
So yeah, what do you think? Does this bode well for the tag team division overall? Just to kind of
Yeah,
close the lead here.
I thought this was good for like from like a championship perspective. DIY probably did kind of all you wanted to see from them, and they were good enough with it. Street Profits have been good. This is only their second title reign, which I was like, wow. I thought they were kind of staples of the company, but I guess they had one before, and maybe they have a better one now. I don't know. I
Well,
don't remember their first title reign.
remember that the Usos had unified both brands' tag titles.
The Usos had the reign, the super long
and it was
reign.
like 600 days. So like until they split them at the last last Money in the Bank or whenever. Yeah, or was it last WrestleMania when they finally split them up again? Like the Usos had it for 622 days. So and that was a combined title for much of that reign. So like there weren't chances for veterans to have the belt dating back to like what, sometime in 2021, maybe 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while since there's been this kind of opportunity. And it looks like the opportunity is going hand in hand with the talent. Like there's enough good tag teams now where it makes sense. I think it was a good showing. I was surprised to see this match be the main event when it started.
Yeah.
But like you, as it finished up, I said, okay, if you're going to give me a pretty good match and have it be a title change, be really exciting, okay, I'll do it. I'll ride the wave there. Pretty good main event.
Yeah. So let's move on to the follow here. Dom, we talked about the main event, but I think it's time to go to our next match of the night.
Sure.
And I'm going to just go ahead and skip right to it.
Okay.
We don't get to see him nearly enough. He's probably our favorite wrestler. We got Gunther versus Axiom from NXT, who was apparently from Spain. I have never seen this man before, but man, oh man, was he over. Was Gunther over. He shot a promo. Gunther's promos are like wildly improved from when I can remember, when he doesn't even really need a manager. He could just, and he didn't have one. He just goes out there and he says his promo. He speaks clearly. He's got the character down to a point where I can't tell when he, like, I wouldn't even be able to tell, like, if that's, oh, it feels like he's acting. Like, it doesn't feel like he's acting. It feels like that's his personality. And yeah, Gunther wins over Axiom. This was a fun one. Great to see Gunther again. What'd you think of this matchup and promo, Dom?
This had a feel to me like the last time they went over to Europe and Ludwig Kaiser came out to face LA Knight for the open challenge for the US Championship. And Kaiser was way over, and it wound up being a much cooler match than you thought it would be. Axiom, great job in this match for him. I will say I'm going to criticize this match because this match shouldn't have gone on that long. I know they're trying to get the local guy some TV time and make him look strong, but like the size differential, and Gunther's your world champ, this match shouldn't have gone on 15 minutes. I mean, it was nearly 10 minutes of TV time. There was a commercial break in there at least, maybe a little edit there for the TV stuff. I mean, this is one of those where you're giving the live audience in the arena something that, you know, the longtime watchers of SmackDown and Raw are going, really? Gunther's struggling this much with... I mean, he didn't struggle this much with Jey Uso at the last pay-per-view.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And you would say even with Axiom, he's from NXT and you don't know who he is. And suddenly, and like, unless they want to keep him up, but it looks like he has a tag title. So he's going to do both?
Yeah, he's got a tag title. So they probably brought him out just because it's Spain.
Yeah.
Like, who do we have on the roster that's from Spain? I think they mentioned that he may have been the first one that they had signed who was native born in Spain. So he wrestles a really good match. Gunther finally wins with a powerbomb, a clothesline, and then another powerbomb for the pinfall. And post-match, Gunther applies the sleeper just because he's the heel. Pretty neat match. It got a little spot festy in there as well. You know, Gunther hits his big drop kick, power bombs Axiom. Axiom kicks out of the stack pinfall attempt. I mean, Axiom did get his shots in, though. He reversed a second turnbuckle powerbomb attempt by Gunther, turned it into a Hurricane Rana, or as we now know, it's the Frankensteiner, the originator of it, right?
That's
I
right.
knew that before, but yeah, Hurricane Rana for the Mexican wrestling enthusiasts.
Mhm.
Then hit a flying super kick and got a 2 count out of it. So Axiom got to kick out of some of Gunther's finishes earlier. So I don't know. Maybe if I knew some more about Axiom, maybe if he was a little bigger as a wrestler, just size wise. But yeah, fun to see Gunther. Fun to see two guys who are really good athletes. It also shows Gunther's versatility. It's like, hey, we've got a much smaller wrestler coming up from NXT. Can you make him look good in front of his hometown crowd, but
Yeah.
still beat him at the end and give him a little extra since you're the champ and the heel? And Gunther does a great job. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, even though it's a little bit of a head scratcher. Like, what, really?
Yeah. We got the Fixer, Morning Guys, and then he's saying Axiom looks like he's going to be a great signing.
Okay, we got one vote for Axiom having some long-term potential here. Very good. I have not seen him in NXT. I don't watch NXT, but guy has some potential. It may be the Gunther effect, where anybody who wrestles Gunther, if Gunther wants to make you look good, you'll look good.
It is totally like that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, he looks really good. I'm like, wait a second, he's wrestling Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
Gunther could wrestle a broom, and that broom would get a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to call out some spots.
Sure.
That I really like. Just seeing the chops again, I was like, yes, the chops. They're back. Ripping the mask off, that's some good cheap heat.
Yes.
That's a teaser for later where we're going to be doing cheap heat, baby.
Yeah.
But the cheap heat for ripping the mask off is always great. The Hurricane Rana was wild, where it looked like he was about to go and hit him with the power bomb off of the top rope, which I was like, oh my God, is he going to really do this? Like, that would be insane. But he hits the Hurricane Rana, but the way that Gunther gets him up for the Hurricane Rana, he really sells like he's doing the power bomb and then gets flipped. It wasn't like, how like a lot of those spot festy stuffs get like the transitions are so awkward that it just looks fake. That didn't look fake. It looked like power bomb. Oh, then he flips. But
it's the Gunther effect. He knows how to deliver a move. He knows how to take a move.
So yeah, I needed to talk about that because I miss my man Gunther, and great to see him tonight, or last night rather.
Mm-hmm.
Today we watched it, but that's a little inside baseball. What match you want to head to next?
I like the opener.
Yeah.
This was a ton of fun. It was awkward at the beginning because it started with a promo. LA Knight comes out into the ring, and as I'm listening to him, I'm going, okay, I know the crowd is there, and he's maybe a little taken aback by how just into it and enthusiastic the live crowd is there. But like after a minute or two, I'm like, he's stalling. What the heck is going on? This isn't the same LA Knight energy that we usually get. And then Jimmy Uso's music hits, and Jimmy Uso interrupts and comes down. I'm like, oh, he was just sitting there and told, kill some time, just wait for Jimmy to interrupt you.
Yeah.
So maybe the timing was off there. Everybody was like, oh, should we let the crowd yell a little more? Because LA Knight's just doing catchphrases. He's not saying anything. It was a very un-LA Knight promo in that sense. He's usually got something to say. Jimmy comes down and says he wants a title shot. He wants a shot at that U.S. title. Then Solo Sikoa comes down, interrupts, says if anybody should get a title shot, it's Jacob Fatu. Ah, there you go. So he's out there with Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. They attack 3-on-2. Braun Strowman runs down to make the save. Nick Aldis comes out and says, I think we're going to have a 6-man tag match, and it starts right now. And I like this match. LA Knight, Jimmy Uso, and Braun Strowman. LA Knight hits the baseball slide on Solo Sikoa. Jimmy Uso hits the dive on Jacob Fatu. That allows Braun Strowman to get Tama Tonga back in the ring. They're each the legal man. Powerbomb, pinfall. The baby faces beat Bloodline 2.0. Once again, Tama Tonga, he's in there to be the guy who catches the pinfall.
Yeah, right.
This match went at least 10 minutes plus the intro. It started during a commercial break for us. I like it. I like the action. LA Knight was in there a long time selling and working from underneath, which I thought was pretty cool considering he's the champ. Like he
Mhm.
can work from underneath like that. Hot tag to Braun Strowman. There was a ref distraction that allowed the heels to get an advantage at one point. This was fun. I mean, for a 6-man tag, this was somewhat orderly. It wasn't the chaos that 6-man tags can sometimes be for the entire duration.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
And
What do you say about this match? I really liked it. I thought this was the perfect way to open the show. Not a lot of talking. Maybe your most exciting guy who's not named Cody Rhodes out there in the ring with the microphone in his hand, milking it with the crowd, and then just a star-studded 6-man tag match to start. Like this is how you
yeah.
start a show in a place you've never done a SmackDown before, in a country you haven't seen in 6 years, and to kick off a European tour.
I think it was the right call for the opener, just to do like a quick, reliable LA Knight reliable, exciting promo.
Mhm.
Not like one where it could go either way. We don't have like I know whenever they try to get Logan Paul on the mic, it's a very shaky, but like LA Knight knows what he's doing out there. He knows how to get the
Yeah.
crowd fired up. I mean, that's what he is for
He
as
knows
far
how to kill time while he's waiting for Jimmy Uso's music.
yeah. Braun, one thing that was really wild, I thought, Braun Strowman clearing the ring
Mhm.
was really strange because I was like, are they pushing Braun Strowman? Because he destroyed the entire Bloodline 2.0, who
Yes.
right now kind of look like chumps, don't they? I mean, they're just, I feel like they keep losing and losing and losing. Tama Tonga just gets pinned every time.
But they're protecting Jacob.
Yeah, they're protecting.
Jacob Fatu did not take the pinfall again. And post-match, he was the first of the heels to recover. He attacked, ambushed Braun Strowman, hit 3 of those top turnbuckle moonsaults, teasing the walk up the ramp, but returned with a running charge, sending Braun through the ringside barricade. They're really building Braun and Jacob as looking very strong. I think there's another clash in the future for these guys. Maybe a WrestleMania match.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, right?
What do we got here? Jacob should be transitioned into a face. They got to get him away from the rest of the bloodline, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're ready for that.
But I
think we're with you. How many weeks in a row have you called it out, John, that Jacob Fatu, by himself, isolated, gets somewhat of a babyface reaction, or at least a tweener reaction?
Yeah, I think that he's been getting a lot of love from the crowd. They were chanting Fatu when I was at the SmackDown in Philly, and they were like Fatu, Fatu. It was like, yeah, they like him.
Yeah.
So that's probably way down the road. That's some great bloodline stuff too, right? That's always like that's what really makes the bloodline stick out from other groups. Is there's always like that one person that you're really cheering for, and that's really what makes bloodline good. Sami Zayn was the other guy
Right.
that was he was a baby face in the bloodline. They would do the finger thing and he'd be like dancing along and then they were all like serious, so but yeah, so no, I agree. Good opener. Looks like Braun Strowman has a spot on the roster. I thought he would be like, down to NXT, training some guys, like Baron Corbin out of the company, if you will. But looks like they're getting the push.
Yep.
I'm
not sure how much Braun Strowman could really train guys in NXT. I was all right. Step 1, be 6'8" and 385 pounds.
Yeah, be a complete circus freak of a human being.
Right. Step 2, just run around the ring and shoulder block people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's Omos or whoever that is that's really
right.
huge,
Yes, Omos. Yeah.
And he's never been that good. So
yep.
Braun's always been good. So he probably could give some people some pointers. But anyways, that's LA. We have a couple matches. So let's maybe get to them.
Yeah, we got 3 more to go. What do you like?
We got some more from the fixer. I'll put this up as I transition.
He gets great pops with the. You're noticing. There you go. Jacob Fatu is getting some great pops. Yep. Solo Sikoa is working overtime to stay heel.
He really is. How about I got a one for you? Charlotte Flair versus B-Fab.
Yes.
And B-Fab gets a real match against a real star.
Yes.
Charlotte Flair clearly wins it. We did not foresee, BFAB winning it, but
Mm.
she's competitive in it, and
Yeah.
it looks like she belongs on that really loaded women's roster
Yes.
to a point where I wasn't like, what is she doing out there? I was like, no, she's doing pretty good. So kudos to Charlotte for getting BFAB through it, and BFAB, kudos to her for saving her career from that horrendous Hit Row run. Like it looked
Hmm.
like she would just be a normal person after that, right? Like she'd be out of wrestling. Um, but yeah, so any spots or anything that you want to talk about with this match here, Charlotte Flair versus BFAB?
BFAB, yeah, she's always had somewhat a good look to her, and she seems to be pretty athletic. We've noticed that before. She hasn't wrestled in a while though, and Charlotte Flair, of course, hasn't wrestled for a while outside of the Royal Rumble. I wrote in my notes that they both looked rusty. The crowd
Yeah,
was enthusiastic, but they both look rusty. Charlotte was mocking the crowd and getting heel reactions. That was a good thing to do. Um, Charlotte does the flip in the corner at one point, a la Ric Flair, but she doesn't run all the way across the side of the ring to the other turnbuckle and then get slammed off it. She does do the flip in the corner. It looks really good. She hits a big boot on BFAB, but then returning to the ring, she walks right into a running kick to the face. BFAB got a 2 count on her. So this wasn't quite Gunther Axiom as far as, lengthening it out and you wondering why is Gunther toying this much with Axiom? Why is Charlotte Flair toying this match with BFAB? This was a more even match. They look like they're more even competitors, and Charlotte trying to knock off some of the ring rust. This match went about 10 minutes or so. It had a commercial break in the middle. Charlotte hit a super kick, which I got to tell you looked kind of weak. Hit something called natural selection, which is somewhat of a DDT move. It's a variation on a spike move. And then the figure 8 for a submission. Post-match, Charlotte refused to release the hold until Tiffany Straton came down. And that was really the big story. So before we get to that, was there anything from the match you wanted to call out?
yeah. So it's funny you said natural selection for the move, and I wrote that down as well. It was like the one move that Joe Tessitore knows. I was paying attention during the match, some of the match, like I think one like the main event. He doesn't know anything. He is really announcing on vibes, and that's really it. Big slam, big bash, big
Yeah.
hit,
Yeah.
big leg. Whatever it is, it's just like adjectives in there.
And it's just big.
It just, yeah, he is just saying adjectives, and he has really failed forward up into a pro wrestling announcer after like kind of not cutting it in the NFL. But you could just see he doesn't know any of the moves at all, and half the time I usually rely on whether it be Cole or Graves, Wade Barrett, to say the name of the move so I can write it down for the notes.
Mhm.
I'm always just like, oh, now I have to know what the move is so I could talk about it. But
Well, the
natural
problem
select,
with natural selection is that it doesn't tell you what the move is.
yeah, he must just
Like
have
this,
it right in his notes right there. She will hit natural selection. Say
yeah, right.
natural selection. You know,
Yeah, she came off the ring and it was almost like a bulldog DDT variant or something. Good looking move, good in the sequence where it went. But yeah, I didn't get much from the announce team here, but luckily, I don't watch for the announcers. As long as they don't detract from the show for me, they can really do whatever they want.
yeah. One more thing about the match,
Uh-huh.
I did notice that Charlotte botched the kip up. She like went
Yes,
to get up and stumbled around a little bit, and I always think that's like a very impressive move that people can do. But
absolutely.
if you don't hit it, it looks bad. It makes you
Yes.
look a little silly.
Yep.
Uh, Great pacing though by Charlotte. I know she was rusty, but I
Mhm.
loved how slow she worked in the beginning, and the crowd was so bananas all night. The Barcelona crowd that you can work very slow, and that's all you really got to do. So I really like.
Especially as the heel favorite. Like that's what Roman Reigns used to bring to premium live events, right? As the heel, he would really pace the match and make it his pace.
As a former heel myself, and sometimes I would tell that the crowd would be so hot. I'm like, well, I don't have to do anything. I just need to go slow and steady because the crowd's hot. So I remember that, and I always appreciate when I see it. But
There you
yeah,
go.
I think probably more so than this specific Charlotte Flair brawl here. And I just want to the Fixers got another. Charlotte, in my opinion, will beat Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania. Ooh, hot take. So we have a brawl with these
Yes.
two, Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Dom, you want to take us through this brawl and let me know what you think?
It was awkward because they're smaller than all of the security, and yet it's got women beating up much bigger men all over the place. It was an awkward brawl. I mean, if you want them to brawl, then don't send out security right away. Like a pull apart brawl works when it's two monster men wrestlers and they're breaking free of the security guys who obviously are told not to, hurt the talent. But, really the two women are going to fight their way through all those bigger men.
A lot of the men were way too. There was like almost too many dudes, and that were so big. It would also be like better if you had like little Nate. I could see him getting tossed around. He's a 60-year-old man, Or
Poor little Nate. Poor Charles Robinson.
There's plenty of little indie wrestlers, right? Like little guy indie wrestlers that are taking around that can't go out there and, buffoon it up a little bit more than the others.
They could have sent the women referees down first.
Yeah.
And had them be overpowered by Charlotte and Tiffany. And then when you're finally ready to have this done, maybe like, Nick Aldis and a few of the male security come down. But yeah, I thought it was awkward. They came back from commercial. They're still brawling in the back and coming out onto the entranceway again. The only good thing about that was it interrupted the Miz TV segment.
I liked that. I liked the second part of the brawl when Tiffany went off the top of the monitor, which is our thumbnail, by the way. So
there you go.
There's some people that are filing in, and that's probably why they see the thumbnail, and then they see our two ugly mugs.
Hey, we're talking about it right now. Wherever you're watching us, on X, on Twitch, on YouTube, know that the motherload of our content is on YouTube. Go subscribe there. Click like on the videos that you actually enjoy. Leave us a comment. And of course, you can join if you want. If you want some extra perks, there's a join option there. But find us, Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel on YouTube. Help us climb that next mountain. Thank you. What do we got here? Another one from the Fixer.
Yeah, Tiffy coming out and brawling with Charlotte, moonsaulting her from up high. It's pretty cheap heat for the wrestling match, for the WrestleMania match.
It is.
But hey, it made the thumbnail, and I liked the second part of the brawl, and because it was so ridiculous that they kept doing usually the tearaway brawl, then like that's it. But they did it through like 2 segments, so I thought that was kind of like silly enough that it worked for me. I got one more from the Fixer. I used to be able to do a kip up, but after I hit 50, I realized I'm not able to anymore.
Wow. I don't think I've ever been able to do a kip up.
No. Even 30, 40 pounds ago was never able to do it. And I have only packed on the pounds, which is never the way to get to the kip up spot. So, moving on here. So Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair, we get some heat. We probably get like a promo package at some point. Fixer says Charlotte's taking it. I don't know who's going to win it, honestly. I'll have to think about that one. But
I have to say at this point, I'm concerned about that WrestleMania title match.
Because of Charlotte being a little rusty?
Charlotte's rusty and Tiffany doesn't look polished.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, the Royal Rumble winner on the women's side, it was Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, which was match of the year at the WrestleMania 39. It was Bayley, Io Sky, who had a great match at WrestleMania in Philadelphia. Both at the top of their games. I don't see this WrestleMania match being Charlotte at the top of her game. She's got a lot of work to do in about a month to get some of that rust off, get some of that timing back, be able to do the kip up if you want to do the kip up.
Yes.
And because she's going to have to lead Tiffany Stratton through that match. They've been protecting Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I never really realized it, and you mentioned that she looked a little unpolished, and then I noticed some spots that she misses. I don't really mind so much when someone misses a spot here and there, but I think it definitely has been like every match she misses one spot.
Right.
So it's one of those things where she'll get there. She's very young. She's like
Yes.
in
Yes.
her early 20s.
Yep.
So she'll definitely get there. It's just like one little thing she has to clean up, and then once she cleans that up, she has the more important thing, which is she's over.
Yep.
She has to look. She's got very raw, fantastic athleticism, like really fantastic athleticism.
She might be the best athlete on the women's side. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a world-class gymnast, and like you said, she's in her 20s.
Yeah, I
Tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments, can you do a kip up? I cannot.
Moving on, maybe we go to RKO, Randy Orton versus Carmelo Hayes. Randy Orton gets the hero's welcome there in Barcelona, and he beats Carmelo Hayes. Kind of predictable that he would beat Carmelo Hayes, although Carmelo Hayes has been winning some matches. So, what'd you think of this one?
They mentioned on the announce table, this is Carmelo Hayes' 11th TV match of 2025 already. This guy works.
Mm-hmm.
And he really is settling into that Ricochet role, but as a heel, where you can send him out there every week. He's, as of yet, he's not getting stale, even though we see a lot of them. He's a great athlete. He can go in the ring, and he doesn't have to win a match to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was a pretty good match. They gave him about 10 minutes of TV time. There were a couple of commercials in there. This was a long match. Randy Orton does wind up winning this. Melo avoids 2 RKOs, hits his chest cracker, but Randy kind of half sells it. He hits a surprise RKO as Melo was all proud of himself after hitting the chest cracker. And that's the pinfall there. Post-match, Randy offers a handshake. Melo shoves him away. So Randy RKOs him again. And then he's setting up for the punt, and that's when Kevin Owens pulls Melo out of the ring, and we get another little bit of a brief brawl there. But I don't want to gloss over the match because, Melo's a real workhorse. And it was good to see Randy Orton out there.
Yeah. And
any spots you like, any flow you like from this match that you want to comment on?
Well, this is one that's one of my favorites. The 10 punches in the corner, and they do the count. The simplest
in Spanish.
Yeah, the simplest one, and like it's the simplest way to get the crowd into it when you're a face is do the 10 punches. They know to count to 10. 10.
Yes.
They know right away the crowd to count to 10, and they have been wanting to cheer something. I mean, all night they were chanting. So that's just fun. Go in the corner, I'll do 10 punches, and then the crowd will sing along to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good observation. Big pop for Randy Orton. They sang voices. Randy playing up, talking to the girl behind the ring, came across as a good father.
Oh
yeah. When they sing his theme song, that's how you know, like, he could do whatever he wants at this point. Randy Orton, he's just so over.
And they're playing up that Randy is hearing the voices again, even though it's been his theme song the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So Randy Orton, he's gonna maybe be a little more aggressive, which he'll need. It looks like Randy Orton, Kevin Owens is going to be a fun match that doesn't need a title stipulation, doesn't need a championship involved, doesn't need a number 1 contendership involved. Looks like it's just going to be 2 really reliable, all-time great veterans having a match at WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, they kind of already have their feud built in, and it's a little bit like Cody. Well, less like Cody. In this way, I should say Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens. Was going to be a good match every time, regardless of the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, we'll get Kevin Owens doing some promos from the rental car, which will be great. And then Randy Orton's going to be Randy Orton, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think there needs to be a title. I think it'll be a good match.
Yep. And
that'll be one where, like, a casual fan will go and like, oh yeah, Randy Orton's there. You'll like that, Nakamura. I'm going to say one more match here, right?
Mhm.
Nakamura versus Damian Priest. Damian Priest goes over as a result of McIntyre kind of coming. I should say there was really DQ. Nobody wins
Yep. Yeah,
because
throughout the match.
Drew McIntyre interferes, and there's a big schmoz after Drew McIntyre interferes. It looked like Damian Priest was about to pin
Yep.
Nakamura, and we see Drew McIntyre interfere. Dom, what'd you think of this matchup?
This was a fun match. This was a better match than Nakamura was able to have at any time during his U.S. title reign.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good to see Shinsuke out there. It was good to see Damian Priest out there. A couple of really cool spots I had. Shinsuke comes off the top turnbuckle, but Damian catches him with the by the choke and does a choke aided face plant off of it. Another time, they played all the hits. Damian Priest hit the broken arrow, but Shinsuke Nakamura, the wily veteran, as soon as he lands, he rolls to the floor so Damian Priest can't follow it up.
Yeah.
I like, especially when the heels do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the veteran heels take a huge move and you're all excited and the guy rolls to the floor to break the momentum.
It makes sense, right?
Right? Oh, it absolutely. It's like the well-timed timeout call in basketball
Right.
to stop a run by one of the teams, right?
Mhm.
A great thing. Damian Priest does that rope walk. They play up that he was influenced by The Undertaker. He does the rope walk into a cross body. I like Shinsuke at one point ducks a choke slam attempt, rolls and twists it into an arm bar, but Damian Priest is able to break it after a few moments. I like that from Shinsuke. And then, of course, like you said, Damian Priest counters a Kinshasa attempt with his sit-out choke slam, and Drew attacked to cause the disqualification. Match went about 9 minutes or so in there. I mean, again, it was weird every now and then. It looked like some edits were going on, but a good amount of TV time. I like the match. Post-match, Drew McIntyre. It's all about Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Although Shinsuke Nakamura, and they said this was like warriors acknowledging each other. Shinsuke hits the Kinshasa before leaving the ring, which just gives Drew the enormous advantage to just beat down Damian Priest. Fun stuff from the crowd here, especially once Drew McIntyre got involved. We got some CM Punk chants at Drew McIntyre, but then later they start chanting Drew's name. Wow. Do they like him? Do they not like him? What's going on? Is someone just flipping a switch and the fans out there in Spain are just, they'll just do whatever you tell them to do?
They were doing Ole chants too during this.
Sure, like
I wrote
soccer game.
Ole chant. I said question mark. I'm like, why are they doing an Ole chant? I don't even get it.
Yep.
That's a crazy European crowd.
Yeah, but and then they start doing they started doing Drew McIntyre's name to the Seven Nation Army baseline. Oh, Drew McIntyre. Oh, Drew McIntyre. Right after mocking him with CM Punk chants.
And Fixer, all love to your that side of the world. I know you're from the UK, so we're just joshing you with the UK crowd or the Europe crowd. Or do you consider yourself part of Europe, or is it individual now? How's that work?
They're not on the continent. They've got their own island there. But yeah, you never know. Fixer, tell us, what do you think of the European tour here? Do you like when the WWE goes overseas? And have you been to a live show when they've gotten near you in the UK? Let us know. I'm interested in that. John, you go when they get near Philadelphia.
Yeah. And
you were there just last week getting us some good footage. It's the only reason why I gave last week's kind of lousy show a thumbs up. Because you were there.
Oh, you're British.
There you go. Absolutely. So besides this match, couple of non-match segments. Miz TV finally started with Cody Rhodes coming out as a guest. Miz calls for Cody's music to be cut. So Cody attacks him. It's the Crossroads. Very brief in-ring promo. It turns into a Cody Rhodes saying he doesn't want to talk to anybody except John Cena. Cody was over. Huge cheer. Segment did not drag on too long. Paul Heyman was in the ring later, pumping up the WWE's new video game, hyping that. He also seems to be setting up, for some reason, a triple threat between Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. Is that a triple threat coming to a WrestleMania near you? What do we think?
Who will be the third? Drew McIntyre?
Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins.
Oh, that is an interesting thing, especially with Paul Heyman. He owes the favor.
Heyman's the wise man for Roman Reigns, but he's a longtime friend of CM Punk. Punk hates Rollins. Reigns hates Rollins. But Reigns and Punk are like, which one of us is the other woman for Paul Heyman,
No, that's a good one. Yeah, I did have Paul Heyman's segment here, but I don't know.
Think they're setting us up. What do you say?
No, I think you might be onto that. Fixer seems to agree.
Most likely be a triple threat, yeah. And another star-studded WrestleMania match that doesn't need a title to be interesting.
For sure. Yeah, anything else? We're talking about the show tonight. Anything else that you wanted to talk about outside of Heyman?
No, I think we did it, and I kind of alluded to it before when I said last week I would have given it a thumbs down. Like, what's he talking about? A thumbs down? What is that? Well, yes, we have our thumb drive segment coming up.
Yeah.
You've heard of the Road to WrestleMania? Well, we like to take a drive to put a bow on the show we've just watched. It's the thumb drive. That's where you and I distill the entire show we've just watched into a very simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no ties. There are also no star ratings, no letter grades, no number grades. You're taking this course, pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. We do not do star ratings. We don't do 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We don't do 2 stars in the Core State Center. We don't do 3 stars in the LA Coliseum. No. We don't give stars. We just say, was the match good or was the match bad? Or I should say the show, rather, not the match. So, Dom, what did you think of this SmackDown? 3, 2, 1. Oh, 2 thumbs up. Yep. Dom, why'd you give this a thumbs up?
Great crowd, a lot of fun. We got to see a lot of good matches. This was maybe the first SmackDown where it felt like they were really cramming 3 hours worth of wrestling into the show, which I like. I like to see the wrestling, even though I had some complaints about the Gunther match maybe going a little too long, considering the prestige disparity between him and a tag team wrestler from NXT. But it was great action. I'm very happy for the live crowd in Barcelona. It looks like they got a great wrestling show. Kudos to all of them for coming out, for being really enthusiastic, and they were rewarded. And the side effect of that is we get rewarded watching that on TV. I thought it was a good show.
This might have been one of the better SmackDowns all year. Not sure if it's the best, but one of the better for sure. Was an easy thumbs up. Really electric atmosphere. Pro wrestling, at the end of the day, everyone knows it's scripted. It really relies on that live crowd. It really does. So sometimes they're in like Greenwich, Connecticut, and the crowd just does not care, and they're buy one get one free tickets, and they're just sitting on their hands, and you're like, ugh, they don't care. Japan is like that too, where it's quiet, but it's a different type of. They respect certain aspects of it, right? Because Barcelona. Barcelona, yeah, right. It is like golf, but I get why they're clapping. They'll go crazy for certain things. But Barcelona, they were completely crazy. And going wild. So I thought that the crowd alone carried it. We also had a title change. We also got Gunther, who we never see. We also had a good opener. We had a fun tearaway brawl with Tiffany Straton. Good to see BFAB holding her own. I can go on and on here, but mostly wrestling too, which we like. Good show for sure. Thumbs up. And Dom, I was talking to you a little bit backstage about this one, and I want to dump it on you now. We have seen WWE Smackdown switch to the 3-hour format. Do you think that the WWE, I should say, do you think the quality of the show at this moment has kept up as it did with the 2 hours, moving it to 3, or are you seeing some issues with the 3 hours?
I think I'm in agreement with Seth Rollins that just a 3-hour show, even if the quality is good, it seems like it's a little bit too long. Like 2 hours seems like the right length for to get a really good show in and to leave people wanting more. 3 hours, it every now and then it looks like they're definitely trying to fill a little bit of time.
It feels like there's a lot more filler that get thrown in there, a lot more promos that don't need to happen. I saw a Miz TV segment. That's like a great example of something like why was there a Miz TV segment? It does feel like although the shows are good still, that extra hour takes away or detracts a little bit from the show. I mean, luckily we watch it after and I can fast forward through some commercials. I'll skip a match. I'm not gonna lie. There's just every now and then I have to just. I see Motor City Machine Guns. I'm like, I'm not watching this. There's too much other stuff. It's too long. So from my perspective, even seeing it in the live crowd, I went to Philadelphia. I saw it there. We had Shinsuke Nakamura versus L.A. Knight for the U.S. title. L.A. Knight wins it. That should have been like this amazing main event for a SmackDown. It was so late into the night that the crowd was just dead. They were just literally tired. Not just like, this isn't good action. It's like, no, this is as good as it gets. The crowd's just physically tired. 2 hours was better. We're lucky we have enough wrestlers and they're booking everything good enough that 3 hours is watchable and digestible. But I think the quality has ticked down just a bit as a result.
Yeah, because and I know this from working in media most of my professional life in one form or another. Space constraints work to your advantage if you are willing to put in the time as an editor, and make sure it's like, okay, well, we got to leave something out. Let's trim a little bit and make sure that this is a really, really solid, whatever length you were supposed to present to people. And I think with 3 hours, the tendency is, we've got a little extra time. Why don't you throw that in there? Where I think in a 2 hour SmackDown, you're not having people going, boy, we got huge gaps in here. What are we going to fill it with?
Yeah. Oftentimes there would be, like, we didn't see Pretty Deadly a lot. They just didn't have time for them. So we didn't see them a lot. And, I was hoping that's one of the advantages, right? To go into 3 hours, you could see some of the other guys. But now there's definitely certain points where you're just like, you're watching it and you're like, man, I'm sick of this show. Is the show over yet?
This would be a neat experiment if you and I had also been watching Raw for the last 2 years in addition to SmackDown, because we could compare what happened when they flipped. Like, has Raw been a different show going from 3 hours to 2? Did SmackDown just become Raw? Slightly bigger roster, longer show, longer slog. Sometimes the live crowd is tired by the time you get to the third hour. Whereas maybe Raw's a little crisper now that they're down to 2 hours. Did they just kind of flip those two dynamics that each one was working with? Not having watched the 3 hour Raws for the last few years, I can't compare. Is the 3 hour SmackDown better than the 3 hour Raw or worse than the 3 hour Raw?
It's definitely better than like the 2018, 2017, like when the WWE was bad around that era. So
they've improved over themselves in previous little periods of wrestling. Yes, that's good
for sure. Fixer's got one here. I think peak would be 2.5 hours max for SmackDown,
and that's why you make it a 2 hour show, because it makes you trim something. If you're putting out a 2 hour show, you want 2.5 hours worth of good material because it makes you make decisions.
Yeah, if you had 2.5 hours, and then you'd have to cut whatever,
Yeah,
rather than.
you want to cut stuff.
Mhm.
It forces you to refine, to make things more efficient.
Well, this is good here. We don't watch Raw. Raw, in my opinion, uses its time better.
At this point,
Interesting.
probably because it's a 2-hour show, right? At this point on Netflix,
I don't know. I'm not sure
or are they
about that.
back to 3 hours? Because
I only
Raw
see.
dropped down to 2 hours when they started on Netflix.
Mhm.
And I don't know if at some point they're going back up to 3 hours. I don't know if SmackDown is dropping back down to 2 or if they're staying at 3. We'll just take the ride and see what happens. But yes, the idea is to have more stuff that could go on the air than will fit on the air. And then your very highly skilled editors and producers get together and say, all right, we've got to make this efficient. We've got to get the transitions nice and crisp. We can't waste time. We don't want to drag. Let's get as much action out there and as little filler out there as possible. What you don't want is saying, yeah, we've got 2.5 hours of great show here. It's like, okay, but our show's 3 hours.
Yeah.
Let's make the intros a little longer. Let's have the guy dance a little longer. Let's delay the interruption a bit. Let's have let's have a third pull apart brawl.
Let's do another promo. Yeah, let's do Miss TV. All that stuff. That you really don't necessarily need to see. All right, that was extended thumb drive. I was curious what you thought, and maybe that'll be a short video, Dom. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Let's go ahead.
Check our channel to see all the cool stuff that John puts out there. John, your idea for doing live stream wrestling was a good one a few years ago, but you've since really upped the channel's offerings. You do a lot of the edited video clips. You do the hashtag shorts that are under 60 seconds. It's all there on our YouTube channel. Don't Bury the Lead YouTube channel, and some of these kind of essay videos that you've produced. There's a lot of cool stuff to check out on our channel, including a lot of cheap heat. John, what is cheap heat here? What's on my screen at the moment?
Dom, it's time for cheap heat. This is where we talk about WWE, AEW, other trending topics in the wrestling world. And what we do here is we take each of these topics, we go through the entire show here, and we'll be talking about all different types of trending topics. Especially this one is going to be a banger. This is hilarious. I don't want to spoil it, but this one will be hilarious. We talk about all these different trending topics. I usually take one of the segments or two of the segments, break that down, make a shorter video, post it onto YouTube, and that is really what has got a lot of traction toward our channel. We're up over 1,000 subscribers. We're at 1,090, so 1,100 is right around the corner for us, which is crazy. We're monetized on YouTube now. We have over 500,000. I think we're near 700,000 views. So
okay,
before you know it, we'll be at 1 million views. It's kind of been the bedrock of the channel is this cheap heat. So I've talked too much about our channel at this point on YouTube. I think it's time to kick it to you, Dom, because we have very, very important cheap heat to talk about.
This is very important. It comes to us from WrestleZone. This is, of course, Hulk Hogan here with his Real American Beer tank top on. Jimmy Hart there in the background. I want to scroll down and just let you take in the glory of this headline here. Kids cry over Hulk Hogan leaving beer meet and greet early. I laughed for way too long over this headline, just the headline alone. So, to review, Hulk Hogan is at a meet and greet for his beer. Kids are there crying at a beer meet and greet. Are these kid-sized portions of beer available at this meet and greet? Like me with my kid-sized Fireball whiskey that I give out on Halloween there to trick-or-treaters? This is crazy.
Did the kids sneak into the beer or something and they're drunk and that's why they're crying because they don't know what's going on? What happened with this headline? What is
well,
this?
At least they had some beer to cry into, didn't they?
Right? Yeah, they could cry into their beer.
Kids cry over Hulk Hogan leaving beer meet and greet early. Apparently, Hulk Hogan was at a meet and greet in Orange County, New York. This is sort of a suburb of New York City there. He was at a meet and greet at ShopRite in Montgomery.
Oh, boy.
Apparently, he's at a grocery store. He's pushing a beer. There's kids there. They were told he would see up to 200 people. And so they were number 185. They have a Pokemon card with him on it. So Hulk Hogan is now in Pokemon. And apparently kids were upset that they could not see the guy from Pokemon. What is happening, John? I don't know what's going on. All I know is that kids are crying at a beer meet and greet because Hulk Hogan left early, apparently.
It only adds to it that it was at a ShopRite.
Yes, right.
He's at a grocery store. You're like, isn't this like guy an absolute legend and an A-list celebrity that you would know? I guess not. I guess he's out. I don't know. He's at a ShopRite.
Kids cry as Stone Cold Steve Austin leaves whiskey meet and greet at Piggly Wiggly.
Right.
There's a something from X here as well, from the reporter for News 12, Hudson Valley, who was talking about it. Some disappointed Hulk Hogan fans say they were turned away empty-handed after standing in line and waiting for hours at a promised meet and greet with an entertainment icon, Hulk Hogan, in Orange County, New York. Some people were really getting on Hulk Hogan for this and saying, oh, he showed up a little late. He couldn't even stick around to see all 200 people that were I don't know if Hogan promised that or the promoter or the grocery store promised 200. I'm not sure. I could say this is going to be cheap heat and I'm going to get some heat for this, but I tend to be on Hulk Hogan's side here.
Whoa.
He's a 70-year-old man with serious health problems, and he's getting ushered around to meet and greets at grocery stores where, he's just supposed to be there while strangers gawk at him for 2 hours and take pictures like he's a zoo animal. He's 70 years old. It hurts him to walk.
Yeah.
He's got serious health problems. And he just gets ushered around to all these things. I'm not a fan of celebrity culture at all. So I tend to be on the side of the guy who's just, being paraded out there like a zoo animal when something like this happens. You don't know if Hogan was just feeling like crap that day, if his back was acting up, if he couldn't stand, if he couldn't even sit in a chair for 2 straight hours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't sit in a chair for 2 straight hours. I got to wiggle around. I got to get up and walk.
Yeah.
I haven't had I haven't had so many back surgeries that my spine is 2 inches shorter than it was.
Yeah. It's it's a weird booking for him to take. And
Yes.
Another thing is, I think there was probably a good point there from the person at the bottom. He's like, why don't you just go and shake everyone's hand and say you have to go, by this person, Taylor?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry. We have to get going, rather than just leaving people stranded.
Yeah, just on your way out, just like give everybody the walk from the ring back to the entranceway, and slap some high fives with the people on the side of the aisle as you go.
But Dom, I'm with you. If I knew that Hulk Hogan was at a ShopRite, I would be like, all right, I'm not gonna go, but I'm not gonna go to a ShopRite and stand in line like some psycho to like shake Hogan's hand and get my baseball card signed or whatever.
Even if I'm a Hulk Hogan, even if I'm a ShopRite shopper, I'll be like, okay, I'll go some other time.
I'll go some other time when there isn't so many people there.
I was like, all right, I'll do my shopping when I can actually get my shopping done.
And is ShopRite hurting for business? Like, no, it's always jammed. It's very strange. Like, I don't know any grocery stores that are like, oh man, we don't have nearly enough people coming to this grocery store. It's always packed whenever I go.
It's always packed. Well, I mean, it's a big publicity thing for a new item. That happens every now and then. They'll have a new display out, a new end cap, a new a free sample, food tasting, whatever. I wonder if there was a beer tasting at this. Who knows? Is that why the kids cried? They weren't allowed to get their kids' sample of beers. They kept carding all the little kids. Too bad.
Victor liked this one. You stop your killing me. Laugh, 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 laugh.
I'm still laughing over the headline. Kids cry over Hulk Hogan leaving beer meet and greet early.
That is the wildest headline I've ever seen in pro wrestling. We have to make a video just to have that title. And just be like, yeah, you'll click it.
just to say, when I saw it on my news feed, I'm like, oh, I have to click this. I'm sorry. There's no way I'm not clicking a story that says kids cry over Hulk Hogan leaving beer meet and greet early. My goodness. And then it just gets better and better. So Real American Beer, there you go. More out of the ring stuff from the ESPN press room. Stephanie's Places will premiere on March 26th on ESPN's Plus. It's Stephanie McMahon-Levesque. 10 episodes of her interviewing stars from WWE's past and present there. The original series produced by Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions. So this is a big deal. It's on ESPN Plus. Peyton Manning's involved as production company. WWE is involved. 10-episode series follows WWE icon Stephanie McMahon as she explores pockets of America that helped shape the journeys of some of the most famous names in WWE history. Let's see here. New episodes premiere on Wednesdays on ESPN Plus. Will also be available to stream on Hulu and Disney Plus for Disney Bundle subscribers. Episode 1, The Return of CM Punk. Stephanie McMahon visits her husband and WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque at the new WWE headquarters before she heads to Cleveland for SummerSlam, where she meets up with CM Punk, who reflects on his shocking return to WWE after nearly a decade away from the ring. So this apparently they were gathering a lot of the interviews, a lot of the video, a lot of the content for months and months and months, maybe up to a year. And then they spent their time editing this down into 10 episodes. And I don't know, tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments. Do you like these kind of pro wrestling, but away from pro wrestling style documentaries? There's certainly an audience for them. They've done well for places like A&E, and I think maybe Vice Media was doing something, the dark side of the ring for a while. Shoot interviews, do a lot of traffic with niche audiences on video platforms like Rumble and YouTube and anywhere else, TikTok for shorts, any video channel you'll be able to find shoot interviews someplace. So what do you guys think of this out of the ring wrestling documentary stuff? Is the market oversaturated with that, or do you think this Stephanie McMahon series will offer you something that you haven't seen before? What do you expect from this? And will you be tuning in at least maybe for a few of them on ESPN Plus to see what this is like? John, what's your take on yet another documentary series? And do you think this one will be interesting? Will it offer something different? What do you think about the people involved in it? To take it away.
I don't have ESPN Plus.
Okay.
So I am not going to watch this. If I did have ESPN Plus, maybe I watch one of them. With the person that's interesting. I feel like, if I'm going to be honest with you, on YouTube, there's a man named Chris Van Vliet.
Yes.
Who has excellent interviews with all of the WWE wrestlers. They're not being interviewed by their boss's wife. They're being interviewed by an independent person. And he doesn't talk just WWE. He talks about the span of their career. He's the man. Chris Van Vliet's the man. He really has carved out a niche in YouTube that's positive for pro wrestling, that's popular, and that's very difficult to do. Because I think the other people that are big on YouTube, say what you will, Cornette is very big, but he is a negative for pro wrestling. Like he will make fun of it, basically. So, and he's probably like one of the bigger voices in pro wrestling. So Chris Van Vliet has done it. He has a very popular YouTube channel, and he does it with class, and he does it with really interesting questions with the people he's interviewing. Quite frankly, this show they probably should just paid Chris Van Vliet to run this show. That probably would have been better. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's some interesting dynamic. A lot of people seem to like Stephanie McMahon in general. I don't think there's a
Yes.
lot of she's a talented person. So maybe it comes up. Maybe she can deliver because she's so talented.
Of the people in the McMahon family, she seems to have the highest Q rating, perhaps,
Yeah.
or the biggest positive net. If you took favorable, unfavorable, she's probably that one.
Mhm.
All sorts of stars lined up for this in the wrestling world, except for Pat McAfee, who was a punter in the NFL.
Yeah. Right.
But he does have a very unlikely journey going from a punter in the NFL to a podcaster to his dream job at the WWE. So that one could be really interesting in the sense that I probably haven't, I probably don't know that much about Pat McAfee. I also do not have ESPN Plus. I am not going to get ESPN Plus just for this 10-part series.
You're telling me
There's
that when
too much stuff on the internet already.
Yeah, I know there's too much, and it's already free, and Chris does a better job at it anyway. So, I would be curious with Pat McAfee. It said that his dream job is to be a wrestling announcer. I'm like, your dream job wasn't to be an all-pro NFL player
Yeah,
and
right.
punter. You're like, no, I just wanted to be a color commentator. And if it's his dream job, he barely does it.
I know, right? He takes time off during football season to go be a loud guy on ESPN's, what is it, College Game Day?
Yeah, he's a big mouth on College Game Day. He's one of those guys that screams.
Hey, maybe his dream really was to be a WWE announcer. He went through his entire life just screaming and getting way too excited at things. And finally, he got to the WWE and they're like, oh, you're perfect. That's exactly what we want.
Yes, be annoying. This is your job.
He's been doing that his whole life. He just needed the right environment. And
Mhm.
there it was, pro wrestling announcer.
Fixer came in. He says, I don't get that in the UK. I don't know if that makes me lucky or unlucky. Time will tell.
So it's something you don't have to pay extra for, the Fixer.
Yeah.
Yes, but perhaps it's a blessing in disguise. Speaking of blessings in disguise from WrestleZone, this is Tony Khan. He took a little bit of heat because of AEW's Revolution main event. People were asking, how did that match be the main event? And it was Jon Moxley against Adam Copeland, the former Edge in WWE, who's now going by Cope. And so Tony Khan basically came out and said, look, any of the last 4 matches could have been the main event. John, did you hear much about this post-show media scrum and the controversy here? Did you hear any takes from people saying that was the wrong match to have on as the main event? People were saying that the women's title match between Mariah May and Toni Storm was the match of the night and should have main evented the show. With all the star power on that show, they're saying the women's title match should have been the coup de grace there at the end. What say you about it? You watch a lot more AEW than I do. What do you say?
I did not watch the pay-per-view, so I can't speak to it to a degree that I would like. I heard every match was a banger, and then the dud was at the end. Moxley's got the title, and he has this heel gimmick, and it's just not getting over. It's just not working. And I don't. I have to say this. I'm glad that they took a risk and tried this heel character that's attacking AEW. But there's just goofy stuff they're doing. They keep grabbing guys and putting them in plastic bags around their head. It's just a little gross and violent. They're just kind of like going around and beating people up in the backstage. The story is just all over the place. I don't know. And here's the thing. It makes him an unlikable heel, but he's just got to drop it because it's just not getting over. So I see the AEW in 4 weeks in Philadelphia. Swerve Strickland will challenge Jon Moxley. So I'm hoping that's when he flips it to Swerve.
Okay. You've been a big fan of Swerve Strickland from what you've seen in AEW, right?
Hell yeah. Swerve's one of the best wrestlers they have. So I hope that they give it to Swerve. Moxley goes away for a little bit. He needs some time off. I think he just needs time off too, time away from the company.
Okay.
And I think he needs to come back as a face, and we just forget about this gimmick that he did.
The last 4 matches were the Hollywood ending between Mariah May and Toni Storm, which a lot of people said should have been the main event. Kenny Omega's return, his first pay-per-view match on AEW in over a year, challenge for, I think it was the International Championship, and won it. And then there was the steel cage match with Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher that everybody thought was awesome. And then, it looks like the fourth out of the 4 was the world title match between Jon Moxley and Adam Copeland. 4 really great matches. So I can see why that match went on last, because it's your world title match.
Yeah.
But as it turned out, if you had to reshuffle the deck in hindsight, maybe that one isn't your go home match at the end of the show. So is this a good thing though for AEW that people are complaining that, hey, you had so many great matches on this card that could have been the main event?
Well,
let's look at it from that angle.
You'd much rather be like the whole show was great and the main sucked. It's not that the show sucked, but the main was awesome and carried it. Or even that the main was okay. It's like, oh, these are 4 awesome matches. Quite frankly, and I was thinking about ordering it. It makes me want to order it now because I'm like, oh, all the matches were good except for that one. I'll just skip it.
Yeah, you can. That can be your bathroom break at the end.
Yeah, and I'll bathroom break it right then and there. Yeah, and then I'll bathroom break, come back, and see if it's even worth watching.
There you go, right? So in some ways, maybe that's good news. AEW, now that Kenny Omega has that title, this comes to us from comingsoon.net. AEW reportedly planning a title unification. Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada. Will that happen again? Apparently, these guys have wrestled many, many times in Japan. Are you excited for this perhaps unifying the Continental Championship and the Intercontinental Championship, especially if it means you get an Okada Omega alleged classic again? What say you?
I watched all the Kazuchu Okada and Kenny Omega matches in New Japan, and they absolutely were fantastic.
Okay.
Dave Meltzer, who loves Japan,
gave
them 7 stars. He gave a 7-star. This was because he gave a 6-star for one of the matches, and then he gave 7-star for like another one of their matches. And he said, this is the first time I've ever given a 7-star match. It was like, whoa, Dave, chill. And that's part of my joke.
You and I started growing extra fingers for the thumb drive.
That's why I said we don't give 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. That's a reference to that match.
There you go. I love it.
But it was very good. So I do like this for more than one reason. AEW has way too many belts. I mean, far, far, far too many belts.
Okay.
And I just think that at the end of the day, got to get rid of those belts. So merging the belts is going to be good, and having those 2 wrestle would be good as well.
Maybe this is the best of all worlds then. I am not familiar with the Omega Okada series that went on in Japan, but hey, maybe I'll go looking for some clips of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's got to be clips of these guys out there on the interwebby somewhere. So since you have spoken so highly of it, perhaps I will go looking for it.
No, I think they're almost must watch if you're a wrestling fan, because you could see the style that has come today in modern wrestling pretty much originate from those guys. So for better or worse, there's some dives, but they're good. Talking of Jon Moxley, I would love for him to reunite with Roman and Seth. Those 3 guys are the best of friends in real life.
The Shield, bringing back the Shield. Seth Rollins was asked about that in a recent interview. Yeah. And, he had to basically say, well, one of the guys is at another company. You can't really do that. If it were like the NFL or the NBA, it'd be like tampering or something to even talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know
But
if it would be weird too, because if John Moxley went back, I know he's not a big fan of CM Punk. He said he shot
yeah.
interview with on him, and if John Moxley comes back, are they going to be? And he's just like, yeah, I don't really like you guys, but I'm here. You know,
Hmm.
I could see that happening. I think Moxley's happy where he's at in this world because
Good.
he wrestles for AEW. He can do New Japan. He can do an indie show, death match. He loves the death match stuff.
Hmm.
And let's face the facts, he had some problems. He had a really bad drinking problem. So,
Uh,
and that was all in his WWE years. He was drinking and drinking and drinking, and then he went to AEW. It was there for a little bit, and then he went to rehab, and now he's back and he's sober, which is good. But I don't know if he'd want to go back to WWE where he was just drinking himself through his whole career.
yeah, some people take well to the extra structure of WWE, the more corporate feel of it. Some people don't take well to having those extra constraints all over them.
Yeah.
To each his own. That's why it's good that there is more than one wrestling company out there where people can. That's why it's good that there's competition. Yes, there's always going to be a market leader, but that doesn't mean that everybody who's not number one is trash.
Mm-hmm.
I
I think that also, he's AEW's current champ.
mhm.
He's been their most over guy there forever. I think that he's happy there,
He seems to be doing well. He seems to be doing what he likes. As you said, he seems to be happy there. So if that's the case, good for him. And in that way, I hope the Shield never reunites. If they're happy in different environments, then I hope each of the three guys gets to go to the environment that they most like and most enjoy.
Mm.
And people can just fantasy book Shield reunions on the interwebbies.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong; it would be cool to see, but I think he's there in AEW.
Speaking of cool to see, how about that mustache from Dirty Dominic Mysterio? Or should I say, just Dominic Mysterio? Coming to us from WrestleZone here. Dominic Mysterio and Bronson Reed get slight name changes. Earlier this week, the Freakin' in Seth Rollins' names was dropped from his official WWE roster page. They also got rid of Dirty for Dominic Mysterio and Big for Bronson Reed. Apparently, these were from the mind of Vince McMahon. Of course they were. It's alliteration.
Right.
Dirty Dom and Big Bronson.
Mm-hmm.
Dirty
Dirty Dom. Yeah, Big Bronson Reed. Yeah, you know who made that.
If I didn't know any better, I would have said Joe Tessitore gave him the nickname Big Bronson Reed.
Right.
But it's a little tweak, but it shows maybe they really are trying to clean up some of the details and say, this is silly. These guys don't need like nicknames like that. Freaking the Seth Rollins one was the dumbest one. Seth freaking Rollins.
Seth Rollins one was so stupid. I hated that.
No one calls you freaking Rollins.
Yeah.
No one. Absolutely no one calls you freaking.
Yeah.
Who does he think he is? Scott Steiner?
Yeah, with all his freaks, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Dirty Dom though. Come on, that's a loss.
He's still, a heel. Maybe they could have a nickname for him that pays homage to the fantastic mustache he has here, or the mullet.
Oh God, he's got a dirty mullet, man.
He looks like a heel.
Yes.
Nobody is into the annoying heel persona like Dominic Mysterio. He is a true professional here. It's wonderful. So we will have to appreciate him without the word dirty in quotes on his WWE official profile from now on. On the other hand, them taking the word big out of Bronson Reed's name, but not taking his name off entirely, means that they expect him back. He's been out since War Games when he broke his ankle, jumping off the top of a cage, trying to splash through a table.
Oops. Right?
Yeah, right? Things that perhaps looked better on paper than they did when you actually got out there to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So Very good. A few name changes here and there. It speaks to sort of the new era. Just more little details that speak to the new era at WWE. Thank you, WrestleZone, for that report there. Last up, Travis Scott from the parody account Turvis Scoot on X. Travis Scott is selling a Wrestling is Real WWE t-shirt on his website with a pic of him, John Cena, and The Rock. Wrestling is real. How would he know? He didn't wrestle. He didn't do anything. First of all, he's stealing my line that pro wrestling is real and other stuff is fake. But who is Travis Scott to go around saying wrestling is real? He didn't take a bump. He didn't do anything. You know what he did? He had an open hand slap a guy who was lying face down on the mat, not moving, and he botched it. Johnny botched it. He slapped a man who was lying still on the mat. He botched it. How do you botch that? You don't botch that move and then tell people wrestling is real. You botched that move and you apologize profusely for at least a year.
Yeah. I love it.
Maybe I'm a little upset.
I love it. I love it. I have nothing to add. That's how we do it. That's how we do it here in Cheap Heat.
Well, then, on that note, it's pathologically frugal. It's unseasonably warm. John, what is it?
Dom, it is Cheap Heat. All right, let's move on to the Italian goodbye. Folks, we're headed into the Italian goodbye. And most people would say, oh, Italian goodbye. This is like the last segment. So you guys are going to be heading out soon. Not true, because this is an Irish goodbye. Oh my God. You know what? It is thanks. I didn't plan it. We'll do it next week.
It is St. Patrick's Day weekend, sort of, if you want to say that Monday is a holiday.
Yes. Maybe we'll do it next week, because I did want to share one thing.
Okay. We do have an interview to get to, don't we?
Yeah, with Scott Steiner.
With the aforementioned Chris Van Vliet, is it correct? Very good.
That is correct.
Good. Share that if you can to get the sound. When I share it, does not transfer any sound to it. But you've got the production board there. You're driving the ship here. So for those of you who don't remember Scott Steiner, huge in the NWA that became WCW, went over to WWF for a while with his brother Rick as the Steiner brothers, the great tag team, transitioned into a singles wrestler upon his return to WCW, then had a huge character change later in his career, and there he is on the Chris Van Vliet show. Are we ready to go here, sir?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and press play.
Very good.
Now people still love that. You know,
it's just the way you said it. It's fat.
Right. Yeah.
And that's it. That's the end of the sentence.
That's all I had to say.
but again, here we are 20 years later, still talking about it.
Right. Yeah, it's still, people still like it. So
I, of course, loved Mexico North.
Well, you're from Mexico North.
I am from Canada.
Yeah, well, pretty soon, luckily you'll be a part of the 51st state. And, we could be, share the same passport. Like, you don't have to have that bullshit document that Canada gives you.
I'm good.
Good? Yeah, you should be great. It'd be great to be American.
I've lived here long enough. Life's good here.
No, man, I just did a trip up in Canada about a month ago, and I got stopped at the border. So I had to pay like $269.
It's probably because you got these guns, right?
Yeah. No, fuck. I $269 to say I was a temporary resident. So me and you, like 2 months ago, were tight.
For like 8 hours?
Yeah, 8 hours. Yeah, I'd be out of the country by midnight. So
how does your mind work when you're putting a promo together? Mexico North is hilarious.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Don't make sense to you? Mexico's below the United States, and Canada is above.
It's like
They're interchangeable.
I've heard America's hat.
Right. But they're interchangeable. Your countries are interchangeable. Most of you guys are on welfare, right? Most of you cut grass.
I don't think that's
cut grass.
A lot of snow right now.
Right. But yeah, when some winter's over, you cut grass. So you guys got the same kind of, touch.
We're getting a great Scott Steiner promo right now. What did they tell you before you went out there to do the ring announcing in TNA?
Nothing. Just you're going to be a ring announcer.
I think that's it. That's the compilation right there. We're absolutely fantastic. He kind of like trails off a little bit, and then he just gets rolling again.
Yep.
And it's so great when he calls it Canada or Mexico North.
Yes. I do not remember that particular promo, by the way. I remember the math promo, and I remember him running down Samoa Joe when they were both in Impact over in TNA. But I do not remember the Mexico North.
Doing the modern thing too and saying you guys are going to be the 51st state and we're going to take you over.
Yes.
And like rubbing it in like that is fantastic. And even at the end there, he was hilarious. When he's talking
Scott Steiner. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
When he's talking about, you guys are interchangeable. Canada, Mexico, you're low income. You guys, all you do is cut grass. What? And he's just burying Canada and Mexico, quite frankly. Just like, oh yeah, not US. Oh, what do you guys do? You're poor, right? That's what it is. So yeah, he just hammered it. And it's funny because Chris Van Vliet's like, oh, you're shooting a promo now. He's like, yeah, he was turning back into the character as he started to go through it, and the wheels started turning up here.
I like what he said about his character when he started down that road in WCW as a singles wrestler. The whole big Papa Pump is your hookup. Holla if you hear me. He said he was trying to be hated by people. He was trying to be misogynistic and have people boo him. And people were not booing him. They started to cheer him. It backfired on him. He was trying to be a terrible person and people cheered for him.
Right.
Isn't that the way it works out so often in pro wrestling?
Oh,
You're trying to be a terrible person, and people are like, this is great. Keep doing it.
Yeah, and you are being a terrible person. And then people are like, yeah, we love it. Braun Breaker is Rick Steiner's son. Correct.
Yes, and Scott Steiner has two sons as well who may be getting into pro wrestling. So, yeah, it's in the genes. It's in the lineage there for Scott and Rick Steiner were excellent athletes at the collegiate level as wrestlers. And their sons are also excellent competitive athletes. Scott Steiner, we mentioned a little before the Hurricane Rana that they started calling it the straight on flying head scissors that people would do. Scott Steiner originated that. It was the Frankensteiner. I remember watching it in old WCW. NWA, old WCW. Scott Steiner originated that, as big as he was. The flying head scissors, but instead of the side angle, it's from head on with your opponent, and you just flip them over like that. Scott Steiner was the first one to do that one, the Frankensteiner. The Luchadors copied it from him and called it the Hurricane Rana. Scott Steiner was also the first one to do the 450 splash from the top rope. As big and as jacked as this guy was, he was extremely agile. This was a world-class athlete, just like his nephew Braun is. He and his brother Rick were world-class athletes. His nephew Braun is. Apparently his sons are as well. These are great, great athletes. If they go down the wrestling path, it seems that they have all of the physical tools. The question will be, will they ever get the promo skills that Papa or Uncle Scott has?
Yeah. I'm looking at Bronson Recksteiner, which is his real name.
Yep.
Bronson is currently he was at the combine for the NFL. So he's like a bubble guy. I feel like he might be like a 7th round pick or something like that.
Okay.
Oh wait, this is the wrong Bronson Rex Steiner.
I think that's Braun Breaker.
Yeah, that's
Rick
Braun
Stein,
Breaker.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. We got to get what's his name? Scott
Steiner's 2 sons. Yeah. He was talking about them briefly during the interview there with Chris Van Vliet, especially with at least one of them in their football prowess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tremendous athletes. I fondly remember the Steiner brothers. We talk about sometimes babyface versus babyface matchups. There are a lot of tag matches back when they had to get Sting and Luger out of the singles title picture because they wanted other people to doing stuff. So there are great tag matches between the Steiner brothers and Sting and Lex Luger on the other side. These guys traveled together quite a bit. They were, I think, genuinely good friends during their time together there. They were even joking during this Chris Van Vliet interview that Sting now, Steve Borden, now that he's retired, he looks like he could be a long lost Steiner brother. He's kind of growing the goatee now, and he just looks at just the face. He looks like it now. So yeah, these guys were tight for a long time. They were co-workers and friends, as often happens. You know, you work with people, you spend that much time around them. It's better to develop some good feelings for them than some animosity for them all the time. Makes for just a better work life and a better life. You look like you're doing some on-the-clock research here.
I'm trying to figure out if he's going to get drafted or not.
Okay, one of Scott's sons.
Yeah, Scott Steiner's son. He mentioned in the interview that his son is trying to get drafted, but I don't know that he will be because they keep mixing him up too. When I put his name, they keep mixing him up with Braun Breaker, who has the same last name.
Right? Yes.
So every time I click into it, he plays for the Gamecocks.
Oh, is that South Carolina? In college?
I think it's actually the Jacksonville State Gamecocks.
Oh, okay.
So
like
a
Division
smaller,
okay.
Smaller college. It looks like.
Okay.
But he wants to get drafted. He was at the combine. I know that.
Well, he's got to be a pretty darn good athlete to get an invite to the combine.
Yeah. Regardless, I think he's in good shape, right? Like he'll either, if he doesn't make it to the NFL, then, or if he doesn't get drafted in the NFL, then he'll fall back. It looks like he has an NIL deal with WWE, or he has his options open to go to AEW. I'm sure would gobble him right up too. Who wouldn't?
Okay,
right?
Very good for him. Very good.
Yeah. I almost would rather see him in AEW because if Brock's going to be, you have one of the Steiners and NXT, then you have AEW has the other Steiner. I don't know.
Tell us in the chat. Tell us in the comments. Where did you first see Scott Steiner? When was it? What wrestling company? What iteration of his pro wrestling persona was it? I saw him all the way back in his early days with his brother Rick as the Steiner brothers back in the NWA, WCW days. When do you most remember or first remember Scott Steiner from, whether it was with his brother Rick or as a solo wrestler? John, what's your earliest, when do you recall first seeing Scott Steiner?
Oh, man. For me, Big Papa Pump.
Okay.
When
he was already the singles wrestler in late stage WCW.
When he came out as Big Papa Pump, and he had Buff Bagwell with him as his little henchman, even though Buff was giant too, but he was like a little henchman with the big dumb hat. Big Papa Pump shooting those promos. They were really inappropriate. Where's all my freaks at? He'd have strippers all around him. And his arm was so big that it had like a muscle on top of it. And first of all, he was huge, but he was also hilarious.
Right.
Just the funniest promos because it's funny because he said they would be really intense and he did things to make the crowd hate him, but they're also supposed to be a little funny too, which is probably why he ended up being like over as a face, you know, because he's funny.
It's hard to not like the math promo.
The math promo was unreal.
Right.
And they were talking about his TNA stuff. We would just call Samoa Joe fat.
Yes.
That is some bully stuff. That's hilarious. Yeah. But anyways, we're really Italian goodbying right now.
We are.
And I think maybe I'll hang on for a couple more minutes here. We can talk about the channel.
Sure.
So we're up to 1,091 subscribers.
Excellent.
Go ahead and be 1,092.
Very
really
good.
helpful if you could come over. If you're on Twitch right now, subscribe to our channel. Check it out. We have a video out with a shoot promo with Shannon Sharp, which is pretty funny, I'd have to say, because Shannon Sharp's all fired up.
Yeah.
But a shoot promo and then our little bit of a breakdown. This one's doing pretty good. I was checking it during the show. It's up to 909. I'm hoping to hit over 1,000 with that video. Would be nice.
How's your extended footage from after SmackDown went off the air during the Philadelphia show? LA Knight with the newly re-won U.S. Championship belt.
That actually ended up not doing... It did okay. It got like 900 views. So pretty good. But it didn't go as big as I thought it would. I think it's also very short. Like it was only like 30-second clip. So
yeah, it was just under a minute. It was like 54 seconds, but it's not a hashtag shorts.
Yeah.
It's a regular full-size 16:9 orientation, horizontal, full HD video.
I wish he had really gave an awesome promo because he was just like, oh, I know everyone's tired, LA Knight, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't anything. You know.
Hey, he knows better. He knows not to overstay the welcome. He knows how difficult it was for the crowd to get into the match, so he's not going to drag it out.
Yeah, Fixer saying he's seen Scott Steiner years and years ago in WCW.
Okay, tag team or singles? What do you remember him first as? And what do you remember him favorite as?
No, I loved him in WCW when he's in the NWO too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dom. I am getting a little beat here. I want to try to get a video out, or I might not get a video out. I'm going to let this other one cook, and then I'll put Cheap Heat out later this week. I mean, Fixer, you were here, you watched it, but I'll put it out again.
Absolutely. Watch it again. Relive all of the excitement.
You got to relive the Hulk Hogan part.
Relive kids crying over Hulk Hogan at a beer meet and greet in a ShopRite.
Oh, Tom, I have a creative idea I'm going to try to do now.
Okay.
So we hit all of our metrics that we need to hit, right?
Okay.
Now that we've hit all the metrics that we need to hit, I think I have some more freedom. And with that freedom, I want to just, moving forward, just say, hey, this show is cheap heat. This 30-minute segment is cheap heat. And then just have the picture of us talking, so that's what they know what it is.
Okay.
So when they click in, we'll get less clicks, but we'll get more people that want to see cheap heat. Because some people click and they watch the whole thing, and that's who I want to target. If I make it like our normal videos, it's just gonna blend together, right? It starts to. So I want to. How do I put this? I want to. Oh man, I can't think of the word. Not diversify. I want to be more clear with what the video is, rather than them. Because if they see all this stuff, they might think, oh, it's going to be a reaction video. It's going to be 3-4 minutes. No, it's 30 minutes. It's cheap heat. It's the full thing. So
okay.
I'm gonna give that a whirl.
Very good.
And see, and I think that's more of an honest way of getting views holistically like that.
Okay, very, very good. Worth a shot. You've come up with a lot of ideas, and I got to say they've worked.
I know. Sometimes
We've got 1,000 subscribers. I mean, we're getting close to 1,100. Do we hear 1,200, 1,500, 2,000? Help us climb the next mountain. Subscribe. Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel on YouTube. Thanks to everybody who's already supported us. And, you know, we keep putting out stuff. We keep enjoying it. There's plenty of room for more people to come on over and discover us. Discover Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel.
I love it. Dom, I really appreciate you hopping on here. Fun as always. Fixer, you're the man. We love you, man. Glad you could join. Really helpful stuff from you tonight, keeping us on track. You're the third man in the booth.
There you go. Top of the morning to you, Fixer, over
top
there.
of the
in,
morning.
Great Britain.
Yeah. And have a great, I should say this, you know, go ahead, subscribe if you're watching now, and have a great rest of your evening.